microphones run a little bit louder than I expected them. Welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to come this evening. It's an incredible time for you. You're going to be looking at entering the senior school and we appreciate taking the time to learn a little bit about what's going to happen in the following couple of weeks and then definitely the exciting times that are going to happen over the next few years when we talk about your entrance into the senior school. Entrance into the senior school does mean that there's going to be a new team to work with, which is a new set of faces, and I'm not going to introduce everyone, but I'm Lena Buller and I'm the Senior Curriculum Leader, and I'm going to talk to you for a time about what the next couple of years are going to hold for you. Obviously the rest of the leadership team is here. We have Mr. Keith Howell, who's our acting school principal. We have the head of the senior school, Mr. Darouche. As I said, I'm Miss Buller, and this is Claire Smith, who is our 9 and 10 career pathway leader. Coming into the senior school also means new coordinators, and some names you will know and some will be new. The most important person probably for a day in, day out sort of measure is Miss Megan Penn. She's the one who will be answering the phones in the senior school and certainly takes care of all of us. So if you need to contact us at any point, she'll be your port of call. When I start these evenings, and I've been doing this for a while, I really like to start on a really positive note, talking about where we're going and where we plan for your children to go from here. The last couple of years have seen a massive improvement in the school's performance, and it continues to go from strength to strength. If we look at what happened last year, and this is the most recent data that we had 139 students undertake VCE, which is one of our largest cohorts. However, your group of children is going to be one of the largest that come through the school in its history. So as we get bigger, we get more exciting. 100% of the students who were wishing to continue with further studies actually secured a placement, which is well above the state average. It meant that we were focusing on their needs and wants and then allowed for them to secure what they wanted to do post being with us. 92% of our VCE students received a first-round university offer, which means that in the first opportunities the universities had to offer our students a place, they gave it to them. And that's because obviously our students have been working quite hard on their career pathways over the time that they were with us. Our college ducks, Amy Lee, received a 99.65 and we're hoping to continue that trend into the next couple of years where we've been seeing that our students have constantly been having a couple of 90s. As the academic performance increases, these 90s have become a bit more regular. And our VCAL students, which is our other senior secondary qualification, which I'll be talking to you about in about 12 months from now, we saw 92% of them satisfactorily completed the course. This is well above the state average, and as a result, we're very proud of the results that we've seen. This is the story that we've had, but now we're talking about what's going to happen for you in the following 12 months, which is quite exciting. Year 10 means it is the senior school. It is a new sub-school that you'll be working with, and I guess the requirements and the expectations do change. In year 7 to 9, a lot of your curriculum choices have been dictated, at least in part, by your homeroom. You went from class to class with your homeroom. This is no longer the case. Year 10 opens doors. We build the timetable based on what the students choose, and as a consequence, we run a very rigorous and diverse elective-based program. Next year is very much about you pursuing your interest and talent. It's about what interests you, where you want to go, and what you wish to do in the future. And we cater our timetable to match that. We make sure that our courses are incredibly flexible and we move with what the students want. We'll run the number of classes the students pick as opposed to putting you into the classes that happen to be running. This means that the pathway conversations that we're having for the next couple of weeks are really, really critical. It also means that we need to start thinking about, and not have locked down, but start having in the forefront of our mind, what do we think we enjoy so that we can start thinking about what happens post Hoppers Crossing Secondary College, which I know is a few years away, but something that needs to be starting to be contemplated. So what happens in 2017? Where do we go from here? So in the senior school there is an increased responsibility. With your choices in classes means that you are in power in terms of picking what you want to do, but also this means there is increased expectation in terms of academic rigour and performance in the classroom. We have an elective-based program that has some constraints within it, but for the most part it is based on what you're interested in and what you wish to do. Each semester students will select 6 subjects. they will undertake. The 6 subjects they do in first semester will not match what they do in second semester. Students must complete at least one subject from every KLA area, despite the fact that there is obviously a need for students to be picking pathways consistent or subjects consistent with their pathway. We also want to ensure there's still enough diversity that we don't narrow it down too much at this point. All subjects have semester-based exams, which means at the end of the first semester it is going to be us getting you ready to sit hour-and-a-half exams for all of your subjects. We prepare you thoroughly, but it is something we need to start thinking about. All students also undertake an additional subject next year, which is called MIPS. With us thinking about the flexibility, with us thinking about the electives that you are undertaking and the pathways that you're going to pursue, we think it's really important that we put a subject in place where we talk to you about the pathway options that you have and really have a conversation with you regularly about what's going to happen post-Hoppers Crossing Secondary College. So there are some limitations or expectations of what you will undertake in 2017. You will need to take English. First semester will be an elective. This means that something that you're passionate about, if you are interested in fantasy and science fiction, you can pick an elective consistent with that. The maths you will still pick in conjunction with your maths teacher at a number of different levels. This will to some extent be recommended by how you've gone in Year 9, but in consultation with your maths teacher. You'll then complete 2 humanities units, 2 science, 1 art, 1 technology, 1 health and PE, and 1 from wherever you like. So if you're particularly an art student and that's what you want to do, then you could pick an additional art subject. This is a sample timetable because it's all well and good for me to talk about it in, abstract terms, but it's sometimes easier to look at it. So you notice here that in first semester there's 6 subjects running. You have English, and I've kind of put this timetable together as if I was a Year 10 student. What would I want to do and how would I put it? So I picked fantasy and science fiction. Equally as likely I could have picked shock horror or writing for film and TV. It's really what you're passionate about and what you're interested in. And the humanities unit I chose was law and order, maybe legal studies or going into law or something that I'm interested in. Consequently, I picked that elective. Biology is the science that I thought I'd take first semester. There's a number of streams of maths, and you need to talk to your maths teacher about which stream would be most appropriate, but general maths A is probably the level that most students should be aiming for, and as a result of that, I put that one in there. Health is the subject that I teach, so I'm a little bit biased to put that in there as my health and PE. But if you're more interested in physical activity, that's an alternative option. And tech, food and technology, because I thought it was quite consistent. That's my whole first semester. So the first 6 months of spending your time in Year 10 are the subjects that you do. Then in about June, July, you'll sit your exams, and then we start over again. So we've just started with our new Year 10s, and they've started a new set of subjects, and you can see it up on the board in front of you. They change for most classes, so English becomes the core, so they do what every other English student does, and this is in preparation for VCE English. It's one of the fees that we don't run an elective for, but we think it's really important to start scaffolding for senior English. Then I picked going global. Geography is quite consistent with health. Psychology is my other method. General maths, as you know, maths goes for the whole year. It's one of the few that doesn't change. It's because you really need a consistent understanding of that level of maths to then pursue the VCE equivalent. Thought I'd dance. I'm not very good at it, but I thought I'd give it a go. And then I thought languages would be my free choice. But again, that could be from any area. I could have picked to do anything at that point. This is completely dictated by you as a student. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever you're interested in consultation with the family, you build this timetable. That's what tonight is all about. It's probably the most exciting time for you in terms of being able to pick what you like as opposed to what we think you should be doing. As part of going into Year 10, there are other options in addition to a completely elective-based program. Year 10 does see the opportunity for you to take a Year 11 subject in Year 10. This is particularly relevant for students who experience great success in a number of their studies and they feel that they want to push themselves just a little bit further. They want to challenge themselves in another subject. As a consequence, we open up to all Year 10 students to undertake an accelerated program. Now this happens in a number of schools and we open up most of our subjects. A list of these can be found in your pack. And basically what it means that at the end of Year 12, you will have finished an extra Year 12 subject. So it's really going to provide you a competitive edge with other students who will also be competing in the VCE. There's a lot of acronyms and there's a lot of terminology that comes with undertaking the VCE. We start using terms like VCAR, which is the overseeing body that looks over the VCE and VCAL, and I'll talk to you more about that in about 12 months from now when we're looking at what you're going to do in Year 11 and 12. But just so you know, this is something that's overseen by a body that isn't the school, and they will be sitting external examinations. And that means that at the end of Year 11, because they would have done a Year 11 subject in Year 10, and then a Year 12 subject in Year 11, they'll be sitting an external exam at the end of Year 11. It does give you an insight into what VCE is like a little bit ahead of everyone else. It is a very challenging program, and it is a big step to go from Year 9 to Year 11. So as a consequence, it's probably something that you need to give a great deal of consideration to. This is what the program would look like should you choose to undertake VCE a year early. So what this means that in Year 10, 2017, and I appreciate I'm looking a few years ahead here in the sort of options that we're talking about, you would complete one VCE unit, 1 and 2 sequence as part of a Year 10 course selection. So where 2 of your electives would have sat in your timetable, your Year 11 subject would sit. Unlike the Year 10 studies, Year 11 runs for the course of the year. So as a consequence, it does take 2 spaces in your timetable. What this means is you do 5 Year 10 subjects in first semester with your 1 unit from VCE, and 5 Year 10 subjects in second semester with your VCE running concurrently. Then in Year 11, you do the same thing. You do 5 Year 11 subjects but 1 Year 12, and then this means that you have some options in Year 12. So we're looking ahead, we're looking quite a bit ahead, we're looking at 2019. When you hit Year 12, it means that we can look at a couple of other options. You could really choose to repeat the subject that you've already done. Perhaps you didn't receive the marks that you were hoping to receive. Perhaps the exam gave you a bit more challenge than you expected and you want to give it another go. You think you can do better a second time. That's the first option, and it is an option that some students choose to take. More often we find that they take the others. They take a new Year 12 subject, which means that they ultimately complete 6 Year 12 subjects, and all of them will contribute to the score that will allow them to enter university. This is what we find most students undertake. For a very small number of students that are feeling that they want to challenge themselves even further again, we can look at options for getting you into a university to do 1 subject at university while still completing Year 12 with us. We have a couple of students every year choose to do this, to take on that challenge, go to university, try it out while still kind of staying with us in our safe environment, and it's really positive outcomes. It isn't for everyone, but it's certainly a choice that we want to open up to you now. If VC Access is something that you're looking at or something that you want to explore further, you can come and speak to either myself or Miss Barney, who is the enrichment coordinator. Some of the bonuses of doing VCE Access is obviously the increment to the ATAR, which is the score that will ultimately get you into university, and it is important to consider. You are competing against the state, and that needs to be considered. It also provides an insight. This is something that a lot of students talk about. They kind of know already what to expect when they go into their Year 11 classes, and kind of feel the sort of study expectations, the work expectations, the homework that they need to do. It really gives them a little bit of a tiny view of it without having to undertake it all at once, which is really positive. The study habits they develop is incredible, and the time management, because when you think about every step towards Year 12 is a little bit harder. They get to do it in littler chunks. They try Year 11 while they're still in Year 10, they try Year 12 while they're still in Year 11, and it gives them a little bit of an edge. Pardon me. If you are one of the students that chooses to undertake university, it also is really nice to try and undertake a university subject while still staying with us. Taking the step to go to university is really stressful for some students, and trying that out before you have to take all of your classes there can be really positive. Academic abilities do increase as a direct consequence of this, and this gets embedded into the other Year 10 subjects that they're doing. This is, like I said, a challenge, but a challenge worth exploring. If at the moment you're experiencing a really good report and you're thinking that you want to take a little bit of an extra step. If you choose to apply for VC access, we have a form that we'd like you to fill out, and it's part of the application process. The reason we do that is we do realise that undertaking a year, an accelerated year, is actually a challenge, and that we want to know that there's a certain level of commitment involved. So what we ask you to do is submit this form, and it starts with a student statement. We want to know why it is that you would like to go ahead in a program. So why is it that you would want to do legal studies? Is it because you want to pursue law? Is it because you're thinking about becoming a solicitor? Perhaps that's an area that you're very interested in. And it's a very personalised process where you discuss what it is that you wish to achieve out of it. At this point, we also ask that you submit your report with this form. One of the reasons for that is if you're experiencing some difficulty with Year 9, we wouldn't advise that you miss Year 10. So consequently, we do want the report, the first semester's report, attached to that. Then we ask that parents just put a couple of sentences in there with a statement of support for the child. And the reason is, Year 10, and particularly VCE, is a relationship between the school, the student and the parent. We're at a point now where there's probably going to be some stress at home, there's going to be more homework, and there's going to be times at which there's probably going to be a bit of stress. And we need to know that every party that's invested in that is involved in that whole process. Then we ask that the student go to the teacher that's most closely associated with the subject they wish to undertake. So I mentioned legal studies before. As a consequence, you go and see your humanities teacher. Does your humanities teacher think at this point in time that you should undertake that? Perhaps you're getting 90s in that subject and they really think that would be a great place for you. Then touch base with the KLA leaders, which are listed on there, and get them to sign it for you. This is a rigorous process, and the reason we do that is to make sure that the right students are making the right choices. And we often, well, you will often find, if you apply for VCE access, that I'm going to come and touch base with you at some point, or Miss Bunny will come and touch base with you. The last thing that we ask is that the Year 9 coordinator just signs it. They don't need to make a statement at all, but just that they're aware and they endorse it as an idea. We're really fortunate to have a whole new set of students coming in next year to Year 10, but we don't know you yet. So at this point in time, we'd really like to know that the junior school is behind you. I'm going to pass over to Ms. Smith, who's the Junior Pathways Coordinator, just to talk to you about the ins and outs of the pathway choices you could make.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire Smith. I'm one of the Student Pathways leaders, and apart from... so what I'm here to talk to you guys about is basically the nuts and bolts. So how do we figure out what subjects we're going to choose for Year 10 and where do we get that information? Okay, so as you can see on the board, we're basically going to be talking about two handbooks. The handbook that you guys have available to you right now is the one that's in your pack. So it's the top one there, the one that's dark blue. Okay, this handbook is basically a summary of all of the subjects that are available for Year 10. The second handbook that I'm going to talk to you about is a more substantial handbook. It's about 200 odd pages long. It goes into very, very big detail about each of the subjects. And it basically gives you some other information about VCE, VET, VCAL and so on. So first of all, the blue book that you guys have in your hands right now, that booklet essentially is part of every Year 10's managed individual pathway plan. Yes, I know that's a mouthful. Once your student gets into Year 10, they will be basically allocated to a specific MIPS class. So again, Managed Individual Pathway Plan class. The reason why we do that, and the reason why we have a massive focus on that, is that we're now coming to the crux of deciding where we're going to go, whether that's onto VCE, onto VCAL, you know, whether that's onto a TAFE course, finishing Year 10 early, getting to Year 11 and thinking about that. And so basically having that individualised class, I suppose, really gives the students more access to the teachers who have been handpicked for that particular lesson, and getting that one-on-one chance to talk about their future careers. It's really important to note that the book that you guys have in front of you, you'll only get one of those books through your time in the senior school. So if there's any changes in course availability or subject changes, that will only be published on our school website. Okay? This massive book that I'm talking about is about 200 odd pages, but this is the book that we want to look at. This is the handbook that we want to use in order to educate ourselves and really delve into each of the particular subjects that we're thinking about doing. Within this handbook, it goes in as much detail as it talks about each assessment task for each of those subjects, and it basically talks about what to expect. So if you're sitting there and you're like, I've heard that there's a really good, I'm going to pick science because that's where I'm from, forensic science elective. Alright, so what does that involve? What are the assessment tasks? What am I going to be doing? What do I expect from that? Okay. Again, where we're going to find this is because it's so large and because we're all about saving the trees, one tree at a time, we didn't print this for you. So how we're going to access that is essentially through our college website. Alright. So you go to Simon, and as you can see there with the red circle around it, you're under the career section, that's the link that you're going to click. So as you can see on the screens there, that's the handbook that you're going to, once you basically can download it to your desktop, have it on your school computer, have it on the desktop at home, so that you guys can readily access it between now, essentially, and when the forms are due, okay, the course section forms. So when you go down to the next page, it basically, so very easily, and so we're not scrolling until we get to the year or to get to the subjects that we're talking about. You basically just click on the hyperlink and it's going to bring you straight to what is relevant to you guys. Alright? And as you go from there, okay, so you can see there very clearly we've separated it per key learning area or key department, I suppose. So science, technology, humanities, and so on. And if you were, for example, deciding that you wanted to investigate more about, let's say, the arts, you click on 3D art, it brings you straight to that page. Okay, and as you scroll down through it, so scrolling down, unit description, areas of study and topics, and assessment tasks. Okay. In your packs that you guys have been given today, you have also access, which I think is very important, to a couple of sheets like that. So essentially what we've done is we've put together a couple of common pathways that we've noticed that our students are taking. And so what we've done is we've basically put together suggested subjects for that pathway. So as you can see on the board there, we've got healthcare. So if you're thinking, yeah, I want to be a nurse, alright, so what subjects do you think would be necessary in order for me to be a nurse? The first column there, you can see the Year 10 subjects. You've got General Maths A, as Miss Buller mentioned, you know, our Year 9s should be aiming for General Maths. We've got Biology, Health and Human Development, Psychology, Physical Education, Chemistry and Physics. Now, I can guarantee there are people sitting in the crowd going, oh my goodness, physics, oh my god, I'm never going to do physics, alright? These are suggested. We are not saying by any means that you must do these subjects in order for you to be a nurse. Okay, I just want to make that very clear. These are just suggested subjects that myself as a careers pathway leader, as Nisha McCrae, the other pathways leader, and junior and senior school would recommend that if you're considering about getting into being a nurse, maybe having an idea about these subjects might be a good idea. So as you go down through the pack, and again in the handbook we have more options. We have commerce and law, so if you're thinking about being an accountant, what kind of subjects might you need? Education, again a very common one from our students. And again, like I said, there are more career pathways in your handbook, in your pack, and again in that handbook that I showed you the link to. Next we're going to get on to how we actually fill in this form. And as you know, obviously being from the careers room, this is the form, these are the forms that we really need you guys to fill in correctly in order that you guys get the subjects that you want. As you can see on the board, we have, for example, English. So I just want to make it very clear that every subject available at Year 10 is allocated under the key learning area or the department that they are running under. So, as Miss Buller mentioned, we have a lot of English electives, and you guys can see there that we have fantasy and science fiction, we've got read better, write better, shock horror, etc. How we fill this out is we use a combination of all of our resources. We use our synoptic handbook that you guys have with you right now, and we also use the larger handbook that is available through Simon that I also showed you. How we're suggesting you fill this out, because this can be a very daunting task. We are talking about selecting subjects right now that you have to do next year. That alone is a bit, I remember doing it myself. It's not a nice feeling. So how we suggest you guys do that is pick a subject per night. So say for instance, tomorrow evening, you've got the handbooks in front of you, you've got the larger handbook up online on your computer, you've got the smaller one in front of you, and you've got your course selection form in front of you. How we suggest is that you pick, right, that's it, we're going to sort English out tonight. Alright? So what you're going to do is you're basically going to read down each of those electives, see the corresponding summary in the larger handbook, and if you're happy with what it says in the blue handbook, by all means use that as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to rank those subjects in order of preference. One being the subject you really want to do. Okay, I can't stress that enough. I know in surveys and other bits and pieces, perhaps maybe you start with the larger number. Here we're starting with number 1. Okay, 1 is the subject you really want to do, and you, as it says there, rank your subjects 1 to 7. All right. The same can be said for each of the other subjects. So with maths, as Ms. Buller mentioned, you will need to, if you're considering, doing a particular maths subject, your maths teacher needs to sign off on that. Okay. And again, you rank your subjects, but again, that is going by teacher recommendation. Same thing for arts. Okay. As you'll notice, it's pretty much similar until we get to the last page. So I'm just going to go there. Before I get there, though, I do want to mention a note about languages. All right. So in your course selection form, which is that blue form that I see people holding, if you would like to do a language, it's very important to note that this will take, obviously, one of your selections. If you don't want to do a language, okay, put a big X in this last page, all right? So this last page is our big summary that we need this last page. Yes, it is essentially rewriting what you have already done. So how we do this one is basically, for example, English semester 1, on the board there, we've decided that we want to go with shock horror. We've gone through the book, we've decided that that's the English elective that best suits my interests. I'm going to put that was ranked number 1, so I basically rewrite it in this form. Okay, so essentially what you end up having are all of the subjects that you rank number 1. Alright? If you are considering doing a language, and you are saying, no, I don't want to do that language, what we find very handy is just if you put an X, quite a large X, in that box there. If you want to do a language, again, you indicate that on the form. Alright? I do need to mention in this form that if you are considering VC access, so you've listened to Ms. Buller, and you know what, I've really decided that I'm quite good at science, I think, and in biology in particular, that's the subject that I'm going to apply for VC access. If you are successful and you've done your application and you've spoken to the relevant people and you really want to do biology in year 11 as a year 10 student, what that's going to do is that's going to take 2 of your spaces. Okay? So it essentially takes 1 of the spaces in here, and it now takes your free choice. The reason for that is because a year 11 subject composes of 2 units, and that goes over 2 semesters. So remember, we're basically picking our course for all of next year. Okay? If you are doing VC access and you're also doing a language, you need to come and speak to either myself or Ms. McRae individually, as that one's just a little bit more tricky to make sure that you get both your language and your VC access. But it can be done, you just need to see us individually. Right, in this form, you are basically ranking your number 1 ranked subjects. You're basically rewriting them and putting them in here. This final column, and this is probably the most important one, is this is where you re-rank your subjects. So, say for instance, I've got English, shock horror in there. I'm electing to do general maths for the whole year, and for humanities, I've decided to pick a going global, a geography elective. Alright, and so on. I am now ranking all of those subjects out of 11. My number one is a subject I am dying to do. I really, really, really want to do that subject, and we need to see what your preferences are. You obviously then rank each of those subjects between 1 and 11. The reason why we do that, obviously, is that if you have ranked, let's say, your science as forensic science, that's your number one subject, and you've ranked going global as your number 2 subject, we don't want those subjects to clash. Okay? So as Ms. Buller said, we basically construct our timetable around your selection. So that would be detrimental for you if you have picked forensic science and going global, and all of a sudden those 2 subjects clash against each other. So we really need you guys to take that seriously in order for us to best facilitate what classes we end up running and how we construct our timetable. Okay? I know this is daunting, and I know it's a lot of information just to disseminate, and I know it's, oh my god, what is she saying? She's got a funny accent. First of all, that's very hard to understand her. But we are here. If you're sitting there and you want some personalised help, this is what our job is for the next while until the 19th of August. This is what we will do. So myself, Ms. McRae, the junior and the senior school, we are here to field calls, have meetings with you guys to make you feel best supported in choosing the subjects that you require in order for your future career path. Pretty much just mentioned all of that. From tomorrow, and like every day, the Careers Resource Centre is open all of recess, all of lunch, and after school. Again, we are available to take meetings. All you have to do is just give us a call, get patched to the careers office, or get patched to the junior or senior school and make a meeting. We are completely happy to facilitate that. And to look at, I suppose. So if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I really want to do this forensic science course, but I want to be a policeman or a policewoman. What subjects do I need to facilitate that? Jumping on to VTAC, going on to the TAFE websites like it says there, having a Google, okay? Do not underestimate the power of Google here. What knowledge banks do I need to have? What kind of exposures do we need? Okay? So they are all worthwhile efforts, I suppose, in figuring out what subjects that best suit us. All materials are on the college website. And again, please contact the college if you have any questions at all. Probably the most important is exploring all of your options. Okay? Really sit down. We really want you guys to take the time. We are not giving these packs right now and saying we want these forms back on Friday. Okay? We have given 3 weeks from today for you guys really to nut out the options, explore all the courses, go and speak to the teachers. If you're unsure of who the teachers are, and I'm talking to the students obviously, if you're unsure of who the teachers are, come and speak to me and we can organise a meeting where we can all be in the meeting together. Okay? Teachers, and I'm sure everyone around the room, will facilitate if you're coming up and wondering about a subject, you have a question about it, what does that mean, what does it mean when it says this in the handbook. Okay? As I'm sure I can speak for every teacher in the room, we are more than accommodating to do that. As it says there, and it is in bold, so very important, the forms are due by the 19th of August. So we are accepting forms that week, so the 15th to the 19th of August. Again, like I said, because we don't want to pressure you guys. Again, as it says there, we want you to explore all your options. From essentially now, so from tomorrow, if you are wanting to make an appointment, you want to have that chat, that one-on-one discussion about your student, about their options going forward, by all means, please just give us a call. And there are the dates there. We will know our timetables and we will have our course confirmation from November, okay? And I think I've mentioned everyone there that you can already go and see. The final advice, and I suppose as a careers teacher, the most important thing is pick subjects that you have a passion for. Don't just pick subjects because your friend is picking it. Okay, that's the worst thing we ever want to hear. Pick the subjects that you have an interest in. All right, what are your passions? What inspires you? And what am I good at? Okay, we probably all established, you know, as a year 9, the subjects that we have a particular flair for, and they're the subjects we want you to explore. Because as I'm sure everybody in the room can attest, when suddenly you do something that you like, it's much easier. Okay, and then finally. As you can see, there are lots of teachers waiting eagerly to have a chat with you about their particular subjects. Feel free to ask them, you know, about anything to do with their subjects. And again, we're going to be here. If you want to come and have a chat afterwards, please feel free. Okay. Oh, and there was one last thing. Yeah, I see Miss Butter just beckoning to me. There is an evaluation form in your packs. If you could please fill out that and leave that back here. Is that what you want? Yeah, that's fine. At the exit is completely fine as well. If you need pens and pencils, just let us know. We'll be able to organise that. But we would really appreciate your feedback. Obviously, there's a lot of effort, as you can see, put into a presentation. So, thanks very much.